All right, let's get into a navigation and a header component. So it's something that you want pretty often. So we already have our page component. Inside of there, we're likely going to have a header component and a nav component, and you could have a footer component, anything else that needs to show up on every single page. So let's go over to our components folder and create a new file. We'll call it capital H header.js. And we'll do the whole song and dance. Export default function, capital H header. And then from that, return. And we can return a header tag. Lowercase means it's HTML tag here. And then inside of that, let's just say paragraph, I am the header. Good. You'll notice that my ESLint it takes it from this return where it's on the same line and it moves it to, puts parentheses around it. Both will work, but I just like the formatting of this a little bit better. Now, what we can do, let's go into our page.js component, and right above our layout here, we will use our header component. By the way, in here, when I do that, bung, what's happening there is I am using, and this is built into VS Code, is called Emmet expand abbreviation, and that will expand it out to the tag that it is. I also have a prettier, is if there's nothing inside of that tag and I hit save, it will just change it from an open close to what's called a self-closing tag. Again, header is not defined, so can we import that? I'll hit my control space, and you see that it is trying to auto import it. So let's go ahead and do that. You'll see it's showing up right there. And there we go. I am the header. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we can close that page down. And let's go into our header here, and we can start templating it out. So if we take a look at our header here, we actually have the logo, we have our nav, and then we have the search here that will allow us to search for items. So the markup here is somewhat important. We'll have our header tag, and then inside of that, we have a div with the class of bar, B-A-R. And it is showing class name here. Sometime in the near future, that will be able to do class, but right now it is class name. And below it, we need a div with the class of sub-bar, and that'll be important for CSS in the future. And then in there, you can just say search. We'll just put a placeholder for our search there. And then that's what's one thing I don't like about this auto close is it auto closes my divs for some reason. So make sure you don't save it before you put something inside of it. In there, we will have our logo. Let's just write SickFits. We'll link it up in just a second. And then below that, we are going to have our nav. Okay, so the question is how do you link from page to page? Well, you might think, okay, I can just do a ref is equal to /, and then we'll put our SickFits inside of that. And that should work. Let's go back to our thing here. There we go. And if I go to the cell page and I click on it, it actually works. But what's happening with that is that's a regular old link. And that is actually refreshing the page every single time that you click a page like a traditional website. But what we want is we want to be able to move from page to page as fast as possible without actually having to refresh the entire page. And that's one really cool thing that Next.js does is it uses a combination of HTML5 push state, which is changing the URL, as well as the ability to trigger and re-render pages when that URL has changed. So what we'll do is instead of using hrefs in here, what we use is we use the Next.js capital L link tag, and we'll have to go ahead and import that as well. Doesn't look like it is trying to auto import for me, so we'll have to do that manually. We'll import capital L link from next / link. It might have something to do with the fact that their packages are / that it doesn't work. But now if I go to my / cell page and I click on it, you'll see that it linked it right to the home page. See how fast that is? Boom. Nice and fast. You see it's not reloading. No errors in our console. No errors in our terminal. There is a warning here that we're missing our head. That's fine. We'll be fixing that in just a second in the next video when we get into CSS. So that is our link. Previously on Next.js, we also had to put an anchor link inside of here, but that is not true anymore if you're wondering about that. Let's make another component here called nav, capital N, nav.js, and export default function, capital N, nav, return from here a nav tag. That's HTML5 nav tag. And let's think about all the pages that we want. We want products. Let's do lowercase. So products. What other pages do we have here? Sell. So we'll say sell, orders, account. And then we eventually are going to have cart in the nav here. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap all of those in links. So I'm going to use a little fast movie action here. I'm just selecting all the lines. I hit Command-Shift-L to put a cursor on every single line. And then I'm going to link ref equals / And then I'm going to copy that text and put it inside of there. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. And then I will uppercase the first letter. Good. And let's see, look at that. Auto import worked on that one. Who knows? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so our nav is working. Let's go into our header and import the nav. So you might think, hey, Wes, why are you not putting this in page.js? Well, it's going to be part of the header, so we don't need to put it into page.js. We just need to import it into our header and use it. So we'll go right here, say nav. And we'll import it from our nav file. And look at this. Account, orders, sell. Boom, boom, boom. Moving from page to page. Looks awesome. Okay, so we got our sick fits. That's going to be the logo. We have our search bar. And then we have our nav with all the different items in there. So anytime that you want to link to something that is part of your website, you use the link tag. Anytime you want to link to something that is outside of your website, you use a regular href anchor link. So that is our nav and our header. Let's get writing some style so this doesn't look so awful.